ये नेक्स्ट है फर्स्ट कॉलम में आइंस लिखेंगे तो दैट इज शॉर्ट, राइट हैंड साइड कॉलम थोड़ा बड़ा बना लें, इट विल बी कैटाइन and NaOH test. All these precipitates we test with sodium hydroxide solution. As I said, initially we put few drops of NaOH and then we try and see what happens to the precipitate with excess of NaOH. So the ions which we have in the syllabus, I'll write them here, include copper ions. It gives blue precipitate in few drops, and the blue pipette is dissolve in excess of NaOH. So it's like if a test tube has copper ions in it and you wish to test that, okay, does it have copper ions or not, उसमें हम कुछ थोड़े से ड्रॉप्स डालते हैं के NaOH के few drops of NaOH. So when you add few drops of NaOH into the like the solution which you feel must have copper ions in it, it forms blue pipette, blue precipitate. Dense gelatinous solid. That's like blue pipette. तो इसको यहाँ करेक्ट करेंगे, blue pipette insoluble, dissolve नहीं है, insoluble in excess NaOH. If it is ammonia solution तो उसमें soluble होता है. तो जब मैंने इसमें कॉपर सॉल्यूशन है उसमें मैंने NaOH के few drops डाले तो I see the blue pipettes, and the remaining part of the sentence say that the pipette which is blue is insoluble in excess NaOH. What does that mean? That if in this test tube which has the blue pipette here, if I put extra NaOH, like you have a test tube which has all the sodium hydroxide solution in it, तो अगर आप इसमें extra NaOH डाल दें बाद में, so these blue pipette will not dissolve, it will stay as such. So every time the test with NaOH will give us some precipitate, and those precipitate will be either soluble or insoluble in excess NaOH. ये पूरा test है. Initially the test is with few drops of NaOH. ठीक है ना, ये जो मैं इधर लिखूंगा, that is with the few drops of NaOH. And then once you get the precipitates, we just put more NaOH into it, maybe half test tube into it, to say we see के would the PPTs be soluble or not. तो ये है. अच्छा, अब इसके बाद the next is iron 2 positive. Iron 2 positive form dull green, gray green में लिखते हैं हम precipitates, gray green PPT, and that is insoluble in excess NaOH. So it's like insoluble in excess of NaOH. उसके बाद हमने टेस्ट ऑफ आयंस और गैसेस किए। नहीं, इससे पहले गैसेस के किए तो नेगेटिव आयंस के टेस्ट किए। उसकी रिकॉर्डिंग मैंने शेयर की हुई है शायद, मैं देख लूंगा, अगर नहीं हुई तो मैं फिर कर दूंगा। Okay, so the other ion of iron is iron 3 positive. Iron 3 positive forms brown, red brown, we लिखते हैं brown precipitates. And these are also insoluble in excess of NaOH. Then we have chromium 3 plus, and chromium forms green precipitate, which is soluble in excess NaOH and gives green solution. Like the precipitate of chromium are soluble in excess of NaOH, and afterwards they form a green solution. नहीं, chromium की बुक में soluble है। हाँ ठीक है, एक्चुअली जो अमोनियम हाइड्रोक्साइड है उसके साथ ही इनसॉल्युबल। यहाँ पर NaOH है और फिर अमोनियम हाइड्रोक्साइड भी है, but that is soluble in excess of that. फिर aluminum forms white PPT, which is soluble in excess of NaOH and gives colorless solution. So zinc is similar to aluminum, that's also white PPT. And that also is soluble in NaOH and eventually forms colorless solution. So we have one more to add in this table, and then there is this ammonium ion. उसका टेस्ट थोड़ा फर्क है, उसको मैं separate लिखूंगा. And magnesium ion is that it forms white 50, and that is insoluble in excess of NaOH. So this ammonium ion is different, so I'll write it separate. आप टेबल के नीचे इसको ऐड करें. And that is that if a test tube has ammonium ions in it, NH4 positive ion, इसमें add NaOH solution and heat. It gives a colorless gas. Colorless, pungent colorless. Pungent is something which you cannot smell. A gas that you cannot smell is called pungent. Irritating is a pungent colorless gas which turns red litmus blue. So that gas formed is ammonia, in fact. So the test of ammonium ion is that with NaOH on warming, it forms ammonia gas. And that, in fact, eventually turns red litmus blue, because the only gas which can turn red litmus blue is this ammonia gas. This thing is, very seriously needed for ATP paper, because there is a question which is actually about test of ions. But since most of the students have taken exemption of ATP, but still you need it in MCQs and structured paper questions where you need to apply this. And structured questions, maybe especially this test of ammonium is asked quite frequently. Other than that, if you could add one more point after this table, secondly, the solutions, the aqueous solutions, of transition metal salts are colored. The aqueous solutions of transition metal salts are colored. And then the aqueous solutions of group 1 or group 2 metals are colorless. The aqueous solutions of group 1 and group 2 metals are colorless, like water, and the aqueous solutions of transition metal salts are colored. How do we apply all this in the questions, and how do we get it in the question? Again, as I said, KTP mein to we get a proper question from this thing. You get a salt or usko you test for the positive ion in it and we test for the negative ion in it. But otherwise, in theory, we don't get the table type of question. Short question for one salt or two salt or some random ions are asked in MCQs especially. उसकी मैं आपको एग्जांपल बताता हूँ. आई होप आप लोगों ने ये कॉपी कर लिया टेबल. All right, now just after this, you could add this example. And we'll write these example in table. Salt, the color of aqueous solution, test of cation, test of anion. So it would be the salt here. Color of aqueous solution. Test of cation. Test of anion. है वो भी लिखवा दूंगा, वैसे तो कलर्स हमने साथ साथ लिखे हैं, लेकिन वो भी एंड पे लिखवा दूंगा एक। Magnesium sulfate, iron 2 chloride, and chromium bromide. Ammonium bromide rather. All right, now what you guys can do is like you can use your notes and try and fill in the test and results here. See, for the first salt, for example, you got magnesium sulfate. अब इसका आपने color लिखना है कि what would be the color of aqueous solution of magnesium sulfate. These 2 points will help you in that. So transition metals salts are colored, but group 1, 2 salts are not colored. So where do you think this magnesium is? Is it a transition metal, magnesium? Magnesium is in group 2. So that is not supposed to be colored. That will be colorless. So we'll write colorless here. The color of aqueous solution of this salt. Like अगर इस salt को water में डाल दें, aqueous solution, so what would be the color of that? It will be colorless. And then iron 2 chloride is, iron is transition metal. Iron 2 का जो color है वो अभी जो हमने लिखा हुआ है ग्रे ग्रीन, वो वाला आप लिख सकते हैं. तो अब पॉजिटिव आयन का टेस्ट और उसका रिजल्ट इस बॉक्स में लिखें, फिर नेगेटिव आयन लिखें. ट्राई इट बिकॉज दिस इज हाउ द क्वेश्चंस आर आस्क्ड, नॉट द टेबल दैट आई रोट अर्लियर. वो तो याद करने वाला और ये एप्लीकेशन है कॉन्सेप्ट की. Anything which is transition metal only, that is colored. अगर कोई transition metal नहीं है तो वो colored नहीं है. So ammonium ion is not a transition metal ion. हाँ, कैटाइन में आपने देखना है ना कि सॉल्ट में पॉजिटिव आयन कौन है. जो एनाइन है वो तो आपने नहीं पढ़ा हुआ, लेकिन कैटाइन पॉजिटिव आयन, उनका टेस्ट तो आज हमने लिखे हैं. जो एनाइंस हैं वी रोट देम लास्ट टाइम. All right. So the color of the aqueous solution of magnesium sulfate will be colorless. Iron 2 chloride will be green, gray green. Ammonium bromide would be colorless because that's not a transition element. For the test of cation इसमें magnesium ion है, the positive ion. उसका test आज हमने लिखा है. It gives white PPT with NaOH, right? बस इसमें आप वही लिख देंगे. White precipitate with NaOH. And the negative ion is sulfate ion in it, right? So any idea how do we test sulfate ion? We done it last time. We add acidified barium nitrate and what do we get? White precipitate, right? Sulfate ion का test ये. तो अब इसको if I write it short, so I'll say white PPT with barium nitrate. I mean, when you have to write it short, so you need to write your observation and the reagent, both of them. Okay. And then comes this iron 2 chloride. Iron 2 chloride may the positive ion is iron 2 plus ion, or with NaOH it will form green, gray green precipitates. Gray green PPT with NaOH. And the negative ion is the chloride ion. Chloride ion, the test is that you add silver nitrate solution into it, or silver nitrate solution के साथ it will form cream color precipitates, right? Cream PPT. So cream PPT with silver nitrate solution AgNO3 twice, AgNO3. Sorry, white PPT. Cream PPT बनते हैं क्लोरीन के. ब्रोमाइड मैं नीचे देख रहा हूँ, ऊपर मैंने लिख दिया. क्लोराइड के जो सिल्वर नाइट्रेट में प्रेसिपिटेट है, they're white. And then with ammonium bromide, the test of ammonium ion, positive ion ammonium hai, the one that I have written here. So we make it short that with NaOH on warming gives ammonia gas. Okay? Positive ion के test forms ammonia gas on warming. Form ammonia gas on warming with NaOH. Like अगर आप NaOH डाल के इसको warm करें, it will form ammonia gas, and then the negative ion is the halide ion, bromide. उसके साथ इसका टेस्ट वही है कि gives cream color PPT with silver nitrate solution. And this is how the questions are typically placed from these test of ions and everything. Let's say there is another test tube, and with that there is another test tube. That's test tube X, that is test tube Y. And this test tube Y has a colored solution. And test tube X has a colorless solution. So from this information given in the question, what first information or thing you can deduce from it? You got a deduction. Like by looking at the information, you can make up a clear-cut concept about it. That this is a colorless solution, this is a colored solution. So what does it tell you? Yes, solution Y is a solution of some transition metal. I don't know which one, but from the colored solution word, I can tell it is some transition metal solution. And similarly from X, colorless, I can tell that this solution does not contain a transition metal ion in it, right? This is very important information. In fact, ये जो colored solution वाली बात है, इससे फिर हम तो when the transition metals are asked, तो आपके syllabus में भी है 5-6 of the metal ions, positive ions, उसमें से iron 2+, iron 3+, chromium and copper. These are the 4 transition metal ions जिनके colors आपको याद रखने हैं, ठीक है? बाकी calcium, magnesium, जिंक वगैरह they are not transition metal, उनके ppt white है, वैसे भी colored नहीं है, तो ये आपने याद करना है. अब सिंस ATP नहीं है तो इसके ऊपर हम बहुत ज्यादा इंसिस्ट नहीं करूंगा मैं, लेकिन even if one MCQ's question could come, you actually have to memorize the entire tables which I've written before this, right? अगर आपको वो नहीं याद तो आप टेस्ट नहीं लिख सकते, ठीक है? ऑल्दो क्वेश्चन नो डाउट कम आएगा, लेकिन 1-2 मार्क्स से सारा फिर ग्रेड खराब होता है या बनता है. तो बस ये हमारा कंप्लीट हो गया. अब हम साथ साथ पास पेपर प्रैक्टिस और जो थोड़ा मोल की रिवीजन है वो भी स्टार्ट करेंगे. मोल की रिवीजन के लिए एक तो मैं आपको रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर्स कुछ शेयर करूंगा पहले, वो भी आप देखें, और फिर क्वेश्चन सॉल्व जब हम करेंगे ना रिवीजन करते हुए पेपर सॉल्व करेंगे, उसमें बेस्ट रिवीजन हो जाएगी. साथ साथ कुछ फार्मूलाज हैं, कल हम वो स्टार्ट कर देंगे. तो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव द ईयरली पेपर्स? उमर, आपकी this question is not for you, but otherwise yearly papers नहीं लिए हुए, टॉपिकल नहीं, अब ईयरली पेपर लेने. मई जून में एग्जाम देना है ना, चले यहाँ एटलीस्ट जो पेपर में फिर ग्रुप में बताऊंगा वो आपने प्रिंट करके सॉल्व करके लाना, ठीक है? और आपके पास है ईयरली 2016 से ऑनवर्ड है, लेटेस्ट पेपर है ना, बहुत पुराने तो नहीं है. चलें, मे बी स्टार्ट फ्रॉम 2014 और समथिंग, ठीक है? अब्दुल्ला आप भी करें पेपर्स, जितने भी करें अभी अच्छी बात, क्योंकि अक्टूबर नवंबर आपने अक्टूबर नवंबर में देना ना, उस टाइम पे फिर या मई जून में दोगे अगले साल, ये आपके घर वालों को पता होगा. कोई बात नहीं, चलें पेपर्स अब आप करने शुरू कर देंगे, ठीक है जी? जो पेपर मैं शेयर करूं वो आप सॉल्व करके लाएं, फिर इसको डिस्कस करें. अल्लाह हाफिज़.